welcome back to Tech Beyond Gender. I'm your host, Meena Satish Kumar. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming our guest, Jamie Weddell. Jamie is a newcomer to the tech sector with a fascinating journey. After spending over a decade as a chartered accountant and nearing a director position, she realized her passion for the role had waned. This led her to make a bold career change. Amidst a pregnancy, a pandemic, earning a new degree, and switching companies, Jamie has now embarked on her first tech role as a data analyst. Her story is an inspiring testament to the power of pursuing what you truly want, defying preconceived notions, and finding support in new endeavors. Join us as we dive into Jamie's remarkable transition and importance of having champions by your side when breaking into a new industry. Welcome, Jamie. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here.
Thanks very much, Meena. That was a really nice introduction. I'm excited to be joining you today.
Great. Jamie, can you start by telling us a bit about your background as a chartered accountant and what led you to pursue a career in tech?
So I started out when I left high school, kind of looking for what I'd want to get into and looking for something that I could study extramurally while I was working as well. And accounting just seemed like a great fit. My older sister had been an accountant and I'd looked up to her a lot, and it fit with my passion for maths also. So I started off on the accounting degree, and it worked with, I was working in a law firm, and allowed me to use the skills while I was working and eventually to transition into an accounting firm. And there I found a group of supportive people, met a lot of clients, was enabled to try a lot of different things. And so I continued to enjoy that journey, trying out, working with software, a lot of that piece, working with different clients, getting to present workshops, all sorts of bits and pieces, which kept my interest going in the area. And as I continued to go up the ladder and get in towards the director position, I went into an associate director position. I realized whilst I loved working with my clients, loved working with the team, I didn't have the same passion for the subject matter. And it was the software stuff that I'd been doing before that I really enjoyed. And I missed when I had to give that up. I missed the challenge that I saw in that area. And I realized that I was not as passionate about it as I wanted to be able to look after my clients in the right way. And so started investigating different areas, talking to a career counsellor, and those sort of things to start figuring out where I might want to go next and what was going to fit with where I wanted to go, which is how I landed on the software engineering side of things and looking at that pathway.
Awesome. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during the transition from accounting to tech?
The biggest challenge was the amount of upheaval for my family. So at the time I was making this decision, it wasn't just going to affect me. I had a young son. I had my partner was a stay-at-home dad at the time, so I was the breadwinner, and me making this upheaval meant it was going to change everything for all of us. We were also considering having our second at the same time. So we had to sit down and go, is this really the right thing for our family? Are we committed to all going through this journey together? And what's it going to be like in the long term? So it was a big upheaval for all of us, but worthwhile when I wasn't happy what I was doing.
Yeah. Was it the same time when the pandemic also hit?
So it was just before. I made the decision in about 2018 and finally settled on it around then. And it was in 2019 that I started studying, as well as becoming pregnant with my second child. And I was fortunate to be working for an accounting firm that looked after me and allowed me to stay on as a consultant while I was, until I was going to be on maternity leave and while I was starting the degree. So it wasn't until the end of 2019 that I left to have a child, still while doing the degree, that the pandemic hit. So it was quite a big upheaval, but in a way of silver lining, it meant that we could kind of hunker down at home. And to start with, I was able to watch lectures while feeding my daughter and not having perhaps the same interruptions you might have if you had an open household where people wanted to come visit. But further down the track, of course, 2 kids at home trying to study is very full on. And without the grandparent support that we've had over the rest of the time, just all being at home was quite a tough journey, but you knuckle down and you get through when you have to.
Nice. And what motivated you to choose the role of a data analyst specifically?
So when I finished the degree, which was the end of last year, I've started reaching out to a lot of my contacts, specifically within the company I work for, and figuring out what would be the right role. Because with my set of skills, I've got, on the one hand, a lot of business nous. I've led teams, I've been part of leading an entire firm and worked through a lot of things. So I've got a lot of experience in one area, but on the tech side, not a lot of experience. I've got my degree, but I haven't worked for anything. I haven't done any big projects. So I needed to find something that was going to somehow make use of one while building up the other. And so I talked to a lot of people trying to figure out what that role, where I can find mentors, where I can find that support to get through and find that role that I could actually break into the tech industry. And while looking at these, this data analyst role happened to come up. So I work for Xero, and I was working in a technical sales support type role where I worked with accounting firms, helping them on their advisory journey and using my accounting knowledge. And this role worked within the wider team, looking at the data that enabled the salespeople to do what they do. And so it was a sort of role where I can bring across all the understanding of that data, understanding of the accounting firms and the background of that, while starting to build up my skills as a data analyst. So it just happened to be the perfect transition role with teams I already knew, and very lucky that they were encouraging to take me on to allow me that time to build up my skill set.
Great. What steps did you take to acquire the necessary skills and knowledge for the new role in tech?
So to start with, I was absolutely picking the brain of the person before me. Because I worked in the wider team and I worked alongside him, he very quickly reached out when he knew I was interested to help me know what areas I was going to need. And once I was starting down the interview path for this role, I just basically signed up to a subscription of Data Camp and just went as many hours as I could fit in to get that base skills up and running. So it was, I was committed to putting all my energy into getting the right set of skills to give me a baseline as soon as I came in. And then when I was fortunate enough to get the role, continuing on that learning. So not just sitting back and going, right, I've got it, I'm good, I can learn within it, but making sure I kept up that learning, kept up that interest so that I could quickly get my feet on the ground.
Yeah. So how did you balance your personal life, family responsibilities, and your mental well-being during the transition period besides work?
I think it was knowing for me what areas are the most important. When I was talking to the career counsellor originally back in 2018, 2019, we'd done a value setting exercise and I'd worked out my hierarchy of values. And up the top is my friends, my family, my health, and growth. And so knowing that if I've got those things in order, then I can tweak the rest of the things. So knowing I've got to get the right amount of sleep, I need to have exercise in there to balance me, and I've got to have time for my family and friends, but work in with them and communicate with them. Today, I might need extra hours tonight. So for my husband, can you put the kids to bed? Can you bath them, put them to bed, do all the dishes, do all that stuff so I can do a little bit of more learning, and then knowing when I need to do that thing so he can take a break because he's been picking up extra. So it's just making sure I had my priorities right and I communicated those things so that we could work together on it.
Wow, you're an amazing superwoman, and I really admire your husband as well. The compromises that he would have made at his end
Yes,
to
he
just
did.
be available to take care of kids the full time, right? It's not an easy job. It's just so awesome to hear about male allies who support us as well along this path and transition. Amazing. Were there any particular courses or resources that you found especially helpful during your transition into tech?
Besides completing the degree with Massey, the data camp was really good. As a subscription, I picked that up, and a lot of good practical courses. So you'd watch a bit and then actually write the code so it could check how you're writing it, give you some tips around that. And then probably building up a network so I could ask people, what things did you find helpful when you first started out? What sort of things do you look for when you're hiring new people? What are the areas that you'd like to see or that you don't see as important? So that if I'm going to put my time into something, making sure I put the right time in. And I had a number of people say, one, doing the online practical learning, but two, if you can find any projects or pro bono work to see if you can put your energy into that.
What was your university study about?
I did a Bachelor of Information Science majoring in software engineering. So it was quite a long process really to upskill when you look at the ability to do boot camps and get that intensive training. But with being the breadwinner and having children, I couldn't devote that much time per week to the study. So doing it via Massey was really good because everything's online. I could watch when I wanted to. I could do assignments in the evening. And we had a full Discord server with different people studying and all the support with lecturers in there. So it was a good way to have different areas of support and to be able to do it when I could do it and fit it in how I could fit it in.
So how long did it take for you to complete your bachelor's in information systems?
So it's a 3 to 4 year degree, and it took me about 4 years to do, but it was partly because I was able to cross credit papers from my accounting degree, which was quite useful. In the accounting degree, we were required to do like an extra year of study to make us well-rounded students in order to bring it into the chartered accountancy qualification. So which probably gives some indication of where I was probably going to end up. I'd done information systems and calculus and statistics and another other papers, logic, I think. So I was able to bring those in with me, which meant it was only 4 years, even though I was doing it generally part-time. So I did it about 2 papers per semester, which was just manageable, I think, leaning down to 1 paper per semester when I was getting into the heavy final projects in the final years.
Great. Now, how does the work culture in the tech industry compare to what you have experienced in accounting?
It's definitely, there are similarities and differences in both. What I find probably in tech is that perhaps because it's a newer industry and particularly where I'm working, it started off without a lot of previous history of ways of working in any professional environment. They've been able to foster a really good inclusive culture and a culture that kind of weeds out the negative behavior or any exclusivity. So mostly what I see is in the tech space I'm in is people that want to help you, people that want to support you. Doesn't matter your background, where you're coming from, what you look like, who you are. They want to help you get through there as long as you've got the skills and the willingness to do it and you're a good person. With the accounting industry, they are definitely getting there. There's a lot of changes that have happened in the last 5-10 years. It's been a huge shift, but previously, and this is not speaking about the place I used to work or any other particular places, but as a generalization, you've seen more male directors at the top. And it's taken women a lot longer to break through some of those areas, a lot more work perhaps, and a lot more sacrifice in personal time. And it's changing a lot. There are more women coming through, there's more support for women to come through, but it has taken years because it's had a longer history of industry. And I know when I was working in it, there would be people that were super supported and really proud that they had a woman coming through into that associate director area. And then there'd be other people you'd talk to and they would not talk to me directly, they'd talk to my male counterparts. So there's still some pockets of it in there. It is greatly improving, but I think because of the tech industry having that newer start off for me where I am in, I've found it not to be an issue.
This is so good to have this perspective, right? Because like you have someone who worked in a different sector as well, so you can easily compare and contrast and say what it is like to work in a different sector as opposed to tech. This is a really good different perspective and view. I really hope that you still maintain that perspective in a few years' time.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've been very lucky in the teams I've worked in, that it's all about your attitude and what you bring to work above other things, which is really,
Great.
really cool. So I hope I can maintain it, and I hope I can see other places change and work towards this too, because I know not
Awesome.
everywhere is as good as this.
Can you share examples of a project or a task in your tech role that you found particularly exciting or fulfilling?
So far I'm only, I think I'm about 6 weeks in. So for
Mhm.
me, most of the work is exciting and fulfilling at the moment because I can see all the study that I did and all the work that I did. Now I can see I get to apply it. Um, and I've known all this data has been there when I was in my previous role, when I was trying to help accountants, and now I can see that data and I get to work with it so that I can help develop more information for people. So being able to apply everything that I've learned and being able to turn it into something that's useful and helps other people has been really quite fulfilling in this role.
Great. So how long ago was it when you started working in tech?
So I started with Xero back in 2021. So
Mhm.
within the tech industry, but not in a tech role. And it was in April this year that I moved into the data analyst role.
What were some of the initial obstacles you faced when you started your new role, and how did you overcome them?
One of the biggest obstacles would be that I'm a remote worker from my team. So the majority of my team are Auckland based, particularly my direct team, and I work a lot from home. So it means that I'm not sitting in an environment where I've got people right next to me that I can discuss things with. Every time I need to have a chat about something, it's got to be purposeful. I've got to send them a message or set up a meeting, and it makes it a little bit more difficult as you're learning. I love remote working. It's very great for my lifestyle and working in things and having a really good balance. But as you're learning, it is a little bit harder. Thankfully, my team lead's really aware of this. So we looked at getting me up several times so I could sit with people and learn. I found a great lot of resources that I can learn with in my own time. So I can self-pace through those. And just reaching out and making contacts with people in the Wellington team who are not directly in my team, but they do similar sort of roles. So finding those resources locally that I can sit with and chat with have been really good.
Great. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their current career and is considering a major change?
So one of the things I found when I was first thinking about whether I want to make a career change was looking at my reasoning for doing so. I'd been listening to Mark Manson at a Xero conference, and he was talking about how we all have problems, but we have to pick the right set of problems for us. And at the time I was thinking, I don't have the right set of problems. They're not fulfilling, they're overwhelming, and I need to figure out which problems I do want to have and go down that pathway. So for someone who might be looking at, do I want a career change? Do I want a big change? Potentially sitting back and looking at what is the problem I'm having at the moment? Is it a place thing? Is it the team around you, but actually you enjoy the job? Is it the whole setup? you're not enjoying the job. The people are fine, but it's the job that you're not enjoying. So picking apart some of those, and I found talking to a third party really helped me to focus on what it was I wanted out of life, what sort of role did I want to be doing, and how that then matched up to my strengths, what I enjoyed. So doing some of those sort of strength tests, things like the Clifton strengths or disc profiling, all that sort of thing kind of built up a picture for me of who I was without necessarily all the emotion behind it, which when you're feeling stuck, there can be a lot in there. So definitely having that third party information can help a lot, and just sitting back with it and trialing things in your mind, like if I changed this workplace, how would I feel? Or if I changed this team around me, for example, if you're remote working and you need people around you because you're a real people person. So looking at all those sort of things before making a big decision is really helpful.
Great. So now how can individuals identify if they're ready for a career change? What signs should they be looking for?
It's a big question. I guess the dissatisfaction in the role and not feeling that enjoyment, you're not going to find it every day in every role, but on a regular space. If you're coming home more often than not and you're having those negative emotions at the end of the day, or you need bigger and bigger pieces to make you feel excited about the role, then there's something there that's not working for you. And it's often people around you can tell that too. They can see when you're not happy, they can see you're not feeling fulfilled. And it's when those small things start to bother you, when someone at work might not normally be a problem, but it's the little things start to niggle away because the rest of the picture isn't looking great.
Mhm. Now, what misconceptions do you think people have about changing careers, especially later in life, or having established themselves in a different field, like yourself in chartered accountancy?
One of the things that had stopped me originally would have been that I put too much time and effort into here. Because I did my accounting degree as a part-time degree as well, did that by distance, and then I had the chartered accounting. It had been a lot of time investment into my career that way, and I'd spent a lot of time working through roles, working up, creating a position for myself, and that was a lot to, if you look at it this way, throw away. So it's a big commitment to start all over again, but the way I kind of like to look at it is that taught me a lot. There's a lot of experience that I now have that I wouldn't have if I hadn't done that otherwise. It was never a waste of time. But sitting at where I was, I think I was 34, 35. I actually had 30 more years to go. And I didn't want to be in something that I wasn't fulfilled with for 30 years. So there is no problem in starting again. And whilst it meant that I wasn't going to have the high positions of some of my friends, from my peers, I might not be earning as highly. There are other things I wasn't going to have that people think I'm throwing that away potentially. I was going to have more fulfillment, and I can build that back up again if that's what I want. But in the end, I wanted to be happy in what I was doing and be able to have a happy family because I was happy and I could look after them. So yeah, a lot of people, yeah, it's probably that throwing away of a section that actually it was more just about building experience.
Beautiful. That's actually setting priorities, right, as to really what you want to achieve in life. That's huge. How has this career change impacted your personal growth and development?
I think it's done a lot for my personal resilience and connecting my husband and I together, because we had to be a supportive unit and work with each other to go through all of this change, particularly with second child and the pandemic. If we weren't communicating well, if we weren't a unit, it would have fallen apart. And if we didn't learn to talk a lot through that, and if I hadn't had his support behind this, I couldn't have done what I did. So whilst people might say I've done a lot and I've achieved a lot and worked hard over this, it wasn't just me. It was him with me. It was the kids with me. It was our parents that supported it too. So the growth for us as like a team, and the growth for me of being able to just put my head down and do it, and knowing that it was worthwhile in the end.
Great. Now, looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations within the tech industry?
I think in my previous career, I'd kind of come in at day one and said, I want to get to the top. I'm a great accountant and I want to be director. Coming into the tech industry, I think I've lost that goal is to get to the top. Now I'm more about what can I learn this year? How can I grow this year and do better in what I'm doing now that might take me forward into the next position? A friend of mine put it as like tool gathering, that we're no longer climbing a ladder, we're spending time gathering our building our toolkit for whatever comes next. And for me, I enjoy that because it's about what we're doing now. And it also means that I don't have to become a CEO or a CTO, CEO, those sort of roles. And that's okay. I no longer have that drive to get to the very top. I have the drive to do well and to learn well within this. So for me, it means it could take me anywhere. As long as I'm growing and learning and doing more each time, I'm happy with that.
Great. Are there any specific areas within the tech that you're particularly passionate about and want to explore further?
I really like that I was able to stay within the accounting industry tech, because it means that my peers that I had before, that all the things that I saw we might be able to do to help accountants more, help the small businesses more, I can be an influence from the inside now. And it's really cool to be a part of that and to see what's coming and see the changes that we can make, how we can support people more. So I really want to stay within this industry at the moment and see our small businesses thrive, our accountants thrive by what we can create for them.
Reflecting back on your journey, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your career change so far?
Probably the getting it done, really. The getting through that transition, completing the degree, getting that hard work done, and doing it at a level that I was proud of myself for the achievements. I was really proud of the marks I got through the degree, because it was hard to do part-time, but it showed me that I was capable in this area, that I'd made the right choice, that I could do this. So doing that, doing it well, getting through it and getting a role in it makes me feel like I made the right choice.
Awesome. If you would go back in time, would you do anything differently during a transition?
Perhaps try not to do it during a pandemic. But I think I've reached that point now where, you know, in my 20s, I might have thought, oh, I wish I could change this. I would have told myself to do that. But now I try to look at everything as learning. So even if it didn't go well, even if I wish I'd done something different, I've grown from it. And I know next time how I can do that better. But without that growth, you can't do that better. Without that growth, it doesn't enable me to do better next time or to teach others how they might go through certain areas and to give advice to other people. So for me, it's all learning, all experience.
Nice. Finally, is there any message or thought you'd like to share with our listeners who might be contemplating a similar career change?
Reach out to people, make your networks, find your support. It's hard to do it alone and it feels like a big thing to do on your own. So having a supportive network around you, having people that encourage you, having people that can give you advice as you're breaking through makes it easier, and it makes you feel like you're not on your own. Particularly if you don't know many people, there are so many great networks. So find them on LinkedIn, find them on Slack, find them in person, however you find them, build them, and ask for help. So many people willing to help if you can just step in and say, I'd like to learn, I'd like to talk to you. So I'd really, really encourage people to reach out.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time. Your journey is incredible, and I really admire your resilience and your power and commitment for change. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when you are the main breadwinner for the whole family, right? It's a huge change, a very challenging change, and you have done it, and you're saying it works, and it's so good. Um, have there been mentors at all in your life? That's going to be my final question.
Many, I think, in small ways and big ways. I've had a number of them that are really good at putting things in perspective. I think the best mentors for me are not the ones that tell me I'm doing really well and just give me the good words. They're the ones that will sit back and ask me questions about why I think a certain way, and will challenge me and will drive me, but also at the same time, make sure I'm taking care of myself and make sure I'm looking after myself at the same time as challenging my way forward. And they often don't come in the form you would normally, they haven't been formal mentors. They've just been people who have been in an area long enough that have got great perspective. So finding those couple of people has been really, really helpful, and asking for the time with them to chat through things or to chew over certain areas has been really handy.
Great. I wish you good luck, and I really hope you continue to enjoy your journey in the tech sector. Is there anything else you want to say?
Just to thank you for having me on. This has been really great to sit and chat through things and to think through the journey and to not just look forward, but think through where I've come from. So I really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Great. Me too. The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for your time, Jamie. And hope to get you back in maybe in a year's time or 2 years' time to see how your journey has changed, or I'm sure it as to see how it's evolving as time goes.
Thank you. That would be awesome.